I'm Carl Hatzel. I'm going to help facilitate. I'd like to start off by asking the president of Marshall University to welcome you.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here at Marshall University, the Select Committee of the House on Small Business, Entrepreneurship, and Economic Development. And for all the members of the audience, thank you for coming this evening. This should be a very interesting and dynamic conversation. To the members, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, welcome to Marshall University, and we wish you a very successful meeting tonight. Turn it over to the mayor.
First off, welcome to Huntington. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, pleased to have you all here today. It's an honor to have you here in Huntington. Just a couple of things. I have placed at your seat a book called Where the Jobs Are, Entrepreneurship and the Soul of the American Economy. I had the good fortune in November to be one of 14 mayors from around the country invited to the first Mayor's Conference on Entrepreneurship, sponsored by the Ewing, Marion Kauffman Foundation, and it was held in Kansas City. At that meeting were mayors from Little Rock, Arkansas, Louisville, Lansing, Michigan, Madison, Wisconsin, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. One of the things that was in common with all of these locations is that in each of the cities was a university presence. The individuals who wrote this book did come and spoke at the conference. I have also sitting at your seat a save the date. The Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation is hosting a separate conference, 2-day conference, Incentives to Innovate State Policies to jumpstart entrepreneurship. Mr. Speaker, I would hope that we would be able to be of help to be able to make sure West Virginia participates in this. It would be well worth your time. And lastly, there was a statistic that did come out in this meeting that I think pays particular attention to what we're trying to do here today. According to the Marion Kauffman Foundation, studying between years 1977 and 2005, all net new job creation was due to businesses less than 1 year old. Between 1977 and 2005, an average of 3 million new jobs were created every year. This is the opportunity that we have, and I think it's the insight that this committee is pursuing, and we look forward to hearing from our business people in the community and hearing what you all are able to come up with. Once again, welcome to Huntington, and we look forward to partnering with you. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome you to the second series of the listening tour. There's other cities in the future. Last week was in Clarksburg, this being the second one. It is a structured listening tour and session in which we really want to listen to the business owners and entrepreneurs in this area. I'd like to open up, though, by asking the House Speaker, Tim Malley, to come up and set some ground rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl, and thank you for this overwhelming response being here tonight. I just have a couple of minutes worth of things to tell you. When we came up with this thought about this process, we believed that unless we focus on small business and entrepreneurship growth, it won't happen. And so in the House of Delegates, with a bipartisan unanimous effort, we created a separate committee designed to focus solely on small businesses and entrepreneurs. And part of that process was to go out and learn in a meaningful way what we can do to help you with your small businesses and with your entrepreneurship and the passion surrounding that. Too often we, as elected officials, come down with the idea and grand plans to create jobs, but we do very little about it. If you look back at the bills that are introduced by all the delegates and senators, very few bills have to do with anything regarding small business growth and entrepreneurship activity. What our plan and desire for tonight and the other nights that we have these types of meetings is to find out specifically not generalizations of too much regulation. Well, that doesn't help us anyway. That doesn't tell us anything. We want to find out specifically what hurdles you are encountering or have encountered and were able to overcome, or what hurdles you're encountering now that you're not able to overcome. And with regard to those hurdles that you help identify for us, maybe we can help you out and remove those hurdles for you from a legislative perspective. Some of the hurdles may not be anything we can do anything about. They might be federal hurdles, they might be municipal hurdles or county hurdles, but our goal is to find out in a very meaningful way specifically what we can do to help you. And we conduct these tours by also identifying and celebrating the successes of small businesses in the local communities, because despite the criticism people have of our state, there are a lot of success stories. They're found right here in all of our communities. We just need to look out and find them and point to them and prop them up and revel in their success, not resent their success, and use those success stories to inspire others in the community. So thank you for being here. That's all I have to say. And tonight will be about the only night you will have this many elected officials here where we will say nothing. We will do more listening than talking, other than to tell you good night when it's all over. Thank you. And by the way, let me introduce Doug Scaff. He is the chairman of the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Committee in the House. Doug and I have had this passion for about 6 or 8 months now. We've been talking a lot about it, and so he's done a fantastic job chairing this committee, and all the members up here on this committee are made up of small business owners. That was the criteria to become a member of this committee, that you had to be a small business owner and had to give W-2s, not get W-2s. So thank you for this evening.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker and Mr. President and the Mayor, for having us here. This is overwhelming turnout. This is fantastic. This is what it's all about. I've been honored to be chosen as chair this year. We have a fantastic committee that I'd like to introduce at this time, and this is our second stop on this year's listening tour. Last week we went to Clarksburg. So we chose Huntington because we know there's a lot of great things going on down here, and that small business is the backbone of West Virginia, as well as all sizes, that those people who stay up at night to figure out how they're going to make a payroll each week when times are tough. We want to hear firsthand from you what we can do and what action items we can have to go back and actually make legislation to help move our state forward. So without further ado, we can't accomplish anything by ourselves. I'd like to introduce a few people here who are on the committee, like the speaker said, who've either had businesses in the past or are currently own businesses, as well as some of our local senators and delegates who decided to come today. I'd like to recognize my counterpart over there. I saw him, Senator Bob Williams. He chairs the Small Business Economic Development Committee on the Senate side. Thank you, Chairman, for being here. You probably know this face over here. Kevin Craig, your delegate here from Cabell County, chairs the Energy Committee. Vice Chair here of Finance, we have Doug Reynolds, that everyone knows. We have Delegate Tom Azinger. Thank you for being here, from Wood County. You know this other face, Delegate Dale Stevens from right here. He's donned the appropriate colors. Chairman of Government Organization, who's a member of this committee as well, Jim Morgan. My counterpart from Kanawha, Delegate Ron Walters. Vice Chair of the Small Business Committee, all the way from the Eastern Panhandle. How many hours are you away from home? 7 hours? 6 hours. Jason Barrett. I think Kelly Sabonia, Delegate Kelly Sabonia. Thank you for being here. We have Bill Hamilton from Upshur. Thank you for being here. Delegate Alan Evans from Grant. Erica Storch from the Northern Panhandle from Ohio County. My colleague from Kanawha, Delegate Eric Nelson. We have Delegate Bob Ashley from Roane. Delegate Larry Williams from Preston County. And my minority chair for the Small Business Committee, who we meet weekly to discuss bills, Delegate Carol Miller. Vice Chair Bill Hartman from Randolph County. And I see one of our newest delegates over there, Delegate Tim Kinsey, Tim Wave, from Wayne County. You can't accomplish anything here in the House of Delegates, so we've come together collectively, and the Speaker has given us this platform to come out and listen firsthand from you. So like he said, we're done talking this evening. We can't wait to get started and hear what we can do to help you out. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Okay.
I see Senator Evan Jenkins over here. Just noticed him. Thank you, Senator, for being here. Make sure I didn't forget anybody else. I have to have my bills passed, so I got to make sure I recognize everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, my name is Carl Hatzel. Along with Matt West, we're going to help facilitate. I mentioned it being structured. It's structured in the sense that we want to hear as many voices as possible. And so we've established a couple ways in which you can communicate One is, at the beginning, we're going to have some presenters that are going to give some success stories and offer some of the challenges. Then we open it up to business and entrepreneurs to make comments, either success stories and or solutions that they think would be important to help them. It is true that the more specific we can be, the better it is for the delegates. So, for instance, if you have a regulation issue or if you have something in terms of taxes or whatever, try and be as specific as you can. They take notes. We also videotape, so we make sure it's there. We're very fortunate to have a number of providers with us tonight, people that help small business and entrepreneurs. And we've asked them to kind of refrain from participating until the end. We want to introduce them at the end, and we've set aside time at the end for you to meet with them, to exchange business cards, set up appointments. They're very important to West Virginia. We know that, but sometimes we get involved in dialogues and discussions, and we don't really get to hear everybody. So we've asked them to wait to the end. So this is your chance to talk, to give the kinds of opinions that you'd like to. So we'd like to start off with the 4 presenters that we have are some local businesses that have agreed to kind of through some set guidelines to speak. And we'll start here with Derek.
My name is Derek Gregg. I'm the CEO of Vandalia Research here in Huntington. We're a Marshall University spin-out, a biotechnology company. We produce DNA, so that can sound complicated, but the short and sweet of it is we're a molecular Kinkos. So folks from around the world send us small pieces of DNA, a small amount of it. We copy that about 1 billion times and send that back to them. One thing that, we were asked to provide some of the challenges that have faced our businesses and some of the things that have been in place that allow our businesses to be successful. I think it's important for me to say that throughout this entire process, and we've been doing this now for about 10 years. We started as a class project here on the campus in 2003. And throughout that entire process of getting a business started off the campus, there have constantly been people who are willing to help, private individuals, business people who would mentor myself and my colleagues who were starting the company, people at the State Development Office, the research challenge people. There's been a litany of folks who throughout the years have been there and willing to help, and I think that's really unique to this state. There's 3 things that I would point to that I think are necessary for growing businesses like my own and getting more high-tech, high-growth businesses off of university campuses. That is talent, community, and capital. And there's been a number of things that the state has done in the past couple of years in each of these areas, and of course there's always room for a lot more to be done. Bucks for Brains is one of the most important recent developments in what I would call building that talent base that the state legislature has put into place that attracts that talent to the universities. I think there's additional things that can be done beyond that to help that talent then convert their ideas into businesses in the form of seed capital, angel investment, incentives, and the like. One of the programs that we were able to take advantage of was a high growth business investment tax credit that was in place from 2005 to 2008. That was an important program that allowed investors in high growth, high technology companies to receive a 50% tax credit on their investment, up to over a 3-year period beyond the investment. That program, what we found in practice is that didn't necessarily convince someone to invest just because that credit was there. But if they knew they could get that credit, they would actually often invest twice as much as what they would have normally invest. So it helped raise a lot of capital for us, and I think it's important to take a look at programs like that can help incentivize angel investment, particularly in companies like ours where a lot of our investors are not subject matter experts. So they have experience in business, and a lot of them have obtain their wealth through running businesses, more traditional businesses. And so when we come to them and we want to raise funding for a biotechnology company in Huntington, that level of risk is much higher than a traditional type of investment. So I think any ways that we can work to improve that risk equation for them is very helpful for businesses like ours. There have been a litany of things that have helped us along the way. The West Virginia Jobs Investment Trust, the Capital Access Program we've recently been able to take advantage of, and I think that's an important way for a very creative way for businesses like ours to raise funding in the state. There has been in the past, and I think we need to find ways to encourage in the future, a really robust venture capital community. Companies like Mountaineer Capital are one of our key investors. On the community side, there's the Creative Communities Development Act, which I believe is House Bill 4526, or may have crossed that, but that ways to build the types of communities that we want to live in our cities. Here in Huntington, we have Heritage Station and a lot of small shops in there. That's right next door to my company, and we love going over there and being able to patronize those businesses. There's been the Research Challenge Grant Program was the very first dollars that we received here at Marshall. We had about I think the original grant we received was $15,000. This allowed the other student and I who started this business to quit serving waiting tables and get a 10 by 10 office space in Morrow Library to get this business off the ground. I'm sure there's some things I'm leaving out, but there's been a wide variety of programs and people in the state that have helped us get this started. It's been a community effort to get Vandalia to where we are today.
Okay, I'm Rob Stepp with Creative Kitchens. We are a retail kitchen and bath business with 3 showrooms located in southern West Virginia along the I-64 corridor with Huntington, Charleston, and Lewisburg showrooms. We're a family business, family owned and operated since our inception. My late father started it 55 years ago in our current location here in Huntington. Family runs deep within the organization, as my sister is my business partner. Her husband, Mike, works in sales and management. My wife is in payables and receivables and customer service management, and my son Ryan is in our CAD department. Our history includes supplying thousands of kitchens and bathrooms throughout southern West Virginia and eastern Ohio and eastern Kentucky, southeastern Ohio. We've adapted and changed along with the economy by increasing our capacity of installed business. We've really become what I would call a design-build business, with historically and at one time being more of a distributor with 28 dealers throughout the state purchasing product from us. In 2007, just prior to the national banking crisis, we employed 64 persons and had gross revenue of over $9 million. It's our belief that the willingness to employ skilled staff and provide health benefits for our employees and a stable place of employment has enabled us to offer our clients a good place to shop. We invest in our buildings and in our showrooms to keep up with the changing trends in our nation and in the design world. We have reliable long-term employees and a tenured staff. On the other hand, we're challenged by the big employment issue. We have very few young employees, which leaves us with a lot of uncertainty as to our future. Our median age of employment is 47 years of age. We have 40 employees now, 9 are over 60. Another 9 are over 50, and that gives us 45% of our employees are causing our health benefits to be more expensive, and some challenges there. You can imagine the challenges we're faced when we try to integrate technology in our business. We struggle to get everyone using email and text messaging, and now we're attempting to integrate the use of iPads in our showroom presentations, and it's tough with aged employees. And So not having skilled applicants, young skilled applicants as a potential, it amazes me how we see very few resumes from youth, and that's really across the board, whether it's a skilled laborer or a carpenter, shop person, or that of design capabilities or sales staff. I lay awake sometimes trying to figure out what's the answers and how can we get our college graduates or skilled youth to stay in West Virginia and work here. And the only answer I come up with is more jobs, which that's pretty panoramic. I can only recommend that you work with business leaders very closely and involve our business leaders in the classrooms. I know there's some initiatives out there to get stronger business leader participation in schools, incentivize small businesses to hire from vocational schools, from high schools, and from colleges, and give us, lastly, devote more resources to educating the core business and employment principles that are necessary to find employment here in West Virginia.
My name is Edwin Lake. I'm the owner of Tropical Moon Frozen Yogurt. It's a self-serve frozen yogurt store. We have 3 stores total, 2 in West Virginia, both in Cabell County. We will be 3 years old this September, so we're new compared to the others sitting here, and we're still learning. We use mostly college kids as our team members. We are a summer business, and this winter has been difficult with all the snow and ice that we've had. For us, it's different in the sense of we're a business that people want in the summertime, so it does make it difficult when it's snowing and cold. We have 12 employees in our winter staff, and we'll double that number when summertime arrives. One of the things that we did, we built 2 stores within 6 months of each other, which looking back was probably, for us, not a good idea. We were the second yogurt store in the state, and it was new, and one of the biggest challenges we've had is getting product in the state. You think about yogurt getting into this state, but for us, it's distribution of different products that the state was not accustomed to having at that time. So it made it difficult for us to really get the ball rolling. We've been very fortunate working with the state agencies that we work with. Sitting here, I have to tell you that I have not one complaint from the folks that we've worked with. We've been very fortunate with those individuals. The thing is that we started the process 6 months before we even started construction, contacting and talking to the agencies that we had to deal with so that we knew what we had to do and how we had to do it and make it right. Forgive me, this is my first listening session, we'll call it, so it's a little nervous. I apologize. But running a frozen yogurt store is not difficult, but the things you worry about is you have a university here and you have a lot of applicants, and you can't hire them all. And for us, it's different. I mean, we want to have so many employees to keep the store running, but we are overwhelmed a lot of times by the number of college kids that are actually applying for jobs. So that makes it difficult when you've got all these kids wanting employment. But we're looking to expand. That's something we want to do. We're not a franchise. We built Tropical Moon ourselves. You know, it's one of those things after you work in the business field for 30 plus years, it's time to find something new and fun to do, and that's what we did.
David Justice. I'm with Justice Glass here in Huntington. My father started the business 53 years ago. He considers himself semi-retired. He comes in about 9 o'clock now and leaves at 5 every day. Makes it hard on me to even take an afternoon off. He started primarily as just an auto glass only replacement business. Now very quickly he diversified. Auto glass it's kind of our bread and butter. It's a year-round type business. It draws a lot of people in, and people will come in and say, wow, I didn't know you did shower doors, or I didn't know you did replacement windows, or I need a new tabletop. So it drives a lot of my business, not just the auto glass. The big issue I have, though, most of my auto glass claims are reimbursed through insurance companies. 90% of the insurance companies use what's called a third-party billing service to handle the auto glass claims. So when you break a windshield and call your agent, they just give you an 800 number to call to one of these third-party billing services. The largest third-party billing service also owns Safelite Auto Glass. They are a Belgian-owned company, but when you call this billing service and say, I've got a broken windshield, they'll ask you a policy number they can tie into whoever's insurance company's computers they're working with. They can check and see what your deductible will be, and then they just assume that they're going to do the job. Now, should the customer say, well, what if I want to go to Justice Glass? The response is, well, you may have to pay more out of pocket, or you may not have any warranty with them. Well, that's not true. The insurance company reimburses me or any glass shop the same that they do Safelite. It's like an HMO. Once they have the part number, they pay a set fee for that glass replacement. So in effect, I get more than half of the auto glass market I'm losing. I don't have access to it anymore. The insurance companies themselves, there is a law in the book that says they aren't allowed to intimidate, coerce, or manipulate an insured to use a particular location. But that law does not mention third-party administrator. Now, a couple years ago, with the help of Cabell and Wayne delegates that I know, we tried to address that situation, and Safelite came in heavy with lobbyists and were able to squelch it. There is some legislation now that just passed in Connecticut, and Safelite is battling it tooth and nail, and have tried to get an injunction to delay the law. They were unsuccessful there, but they're battling it in the Supreme Court. But what I am asking at some point, and I think I may wait until this Connecticut issue plays out and see how that goes, but I would like to come back and see if I can get a legislative solution to this. But one of my big gripes about it, the windshields, when I put them in, I don't bill the insurance company anymore. I have to send my bill to Safelite Auto Glass, my biggest competitor in town. They are who actually pays me to do the job. They know my customer's name, where they live. They know how many jobs. If I was doing 10 jobs a month in Milton, they know it. They could go open a store in Milton. They know who my customers are. They're privy to all my business information. I just don't think it's fair. They are violating the spirit of the insurance law, and I would like to see if we can get that issue addressed. Now, you would probably hear more complaints from independent glass companies, but there are very few. The numbers have dwindled so that they've practically got a monopoly in the state of West Virginia, and the whole country for that matter.
So now we open it up for other comments, other success stories or solutions or some combination. But I'd like to point out, you see a welcome sign over there, a welcome sign behind me, and there's one as you came in the door. We have some simple guidelines that we ask that we observe so that we can move the conversations along. Some of those include being respectful. We're not here to judge what someone says. You may have a different opinion. You know, my mom always said we don't get harmony if we all sing the same notes. So it is important that we listen and take in the ideas and not judge them. Also to try and be as concise as you can and when you get specific. So once you feel like you've got a point, move on to the next one. It would be very helpful for us.
I'm Karen Nance. I'm the owner of the Old House Doctor. I like to consider myself a very small business owner. I have never, in the 30 years I've been in business doing construction in this area, had over 10 employees. So sometimes my perspective is a little bit different than some of the larger employers. What I wanted to speak today about is I want to say how much I appreciate the West Virginia legislature for getting involved in the Affordable Health Care Act. Though I do know there might be instances when it's harmful, but in my case, it was a very positive thing. And I can tell you why. I have, in those 30 years, many times been paying premiums that were high, with very high deductibles that I got very little out of. The last policy I had a $10,000 deductible. For every hospital stay, they would pay only 80% per hospital stay up to $5,000. I had no preventative health care. And I'm getting older, so this concerns me about people in small business such as myself that are getting older. And as we get older, then most people would get their blood pressure checked, they would get their cholesterol levels, and they'd know what those were. They would find out if they're getting diabetes. I have not been able to do that. I did break down and go to the doctor over blood pressure, and I take, a little dose of medicine in order to take care of that. But I have no idea what else may be wrong with me. But now that I have signed up for the Affordable Health Care Act, even though I could have kept my insurance, that's kind of one of the, but what they wanted to do was grandfather me in, because I had the company for so long on my policy, and charge me another $60 a month. And during those time periods when I paid my own insurance, I have always paid between 20 and 25% of my adjusted gross income for health care premiums. And like I said, I did get very little out of it. And now, under the Affordable Health Care Act, the most I can pay is 10%, and I get that preventative care that helps people as they get older, particularly, find out what's wrong with them, get some preventative care medication. So whenever we do retire and go on Medicare, we're not going to cost the country a lot of money because we've got diabetes that's out of control, blood pressure that's out of control, and other issues. So I want to say something positive for our legislature that went forward and actually went with the Affordable Health Care Act, because that has made a very big positive difference. In addition to that, though I am small business, I'm not required to give it to my employees, but one thing that small business owners can do is help their employees get online and signed up and get affordable health care policies through this program. And another thing, the only other thing I'd like to say is means I am a very small business. I don't have the same perspective, as I mentioned, as others. It would be wonderful if there was a category for me.
My name's Ryan Jones. I'm the CEO at American Benefit Corporation. And I'd like to say thanks to the delegates for listening to the concerns of the small businesses here. A lot of people don't know who American Benefit is. We were located here in Huntington for 60 years. The company's been around since 1948. We currently have about 57 employees. Now our operations are located in Barbersville. We also have an office in Cincinnati, Ohio, and have an office in Charleston as well. My partner and I acquired the business in 2007. 2 years later, we were doing some pretty major improvements to our technological infrastructure. We should tell you a little bit about what we do. We do third-party administration for health and pension benefits, primarily to Taft-Hartley trust funds, which are trust funds made up of union trustees and employer trustees from the employers that participate with the local unions. We operate in the tri-state area here mainly, but we also have basically West Virginia, Ohio, Kentucky. We also work in Virginia and as far south as Mississippi. We did some major improvements. Being in the third-party administrator business, technology is very important. So we had spent a lot of money. About that time, 2008, 2009, if everybody remembers, the credit markets were pretty much gone. Traditional financing was very difficult to obtain, and I know anybody that's been in small business probably can vouch for that. Would like to say thanks to the West Virginia JIT Fund, we worked with them, and West Virginia JIT Fund is a quasi-state agency with a venture capital fund that allowed us to obtain the capital infusion that we needed, allowed us to restructure some debt with banks. About that time, we had, I think, 46 employees. Since 2007, I'm happy to say that we've hired another 10 employees. We now have 57 employees, and the revenues have grown by about 40% since that time. So without that capital infusion, I'm not sure I could say I'd be here talking to you right now. Also, more recently, we've participated in the West Virginia CAP Fund, which allowed us to again reinvest what we do and help ourselves spread outside of the state, which a lot of the money that comes to our company comes from outside the state of West Virginia, but we're proud to say almost all of our employees reside within the state. So I think that gives us more potential for growth down the road. But thanks for your time, and again, I'd like to say thanks to the West Virginia JIT Fund for helping us through those difficult times.
Hello, everybody. I just want to say I'm glad to be in the state of West Virginia. I want to thank Evan Jenkins over here and Kelly, and I just am encouraged to be able to be a business owner in this state. Opening up a college of our own. We'll be the second barber college in the state of West Virginia, and we teach medical aesthetics, where we do skincare, where we bring Hollywood into the state of West Virginia. I work in Hollywood, California, doing the Emmys, the Oscars, and all the big BET awards and all the TV business. And it's great to be able to bring Hollywood into West Virginia. I went to Marshall University. Also did the homecoming parade and won Hollywood Meets the Herd. So it's a lot of activity here, and it excites me to be able to be a part. I was really thrilled to be able to come down here tonight, but I want to encourage, if you are starting a business and you need some place to start, go to the Small Business Developmental Center. Amber Wilson is the most fantastic person to get me started. She got me in the right path, and I will tell you, the Raleigh County Chamber of Commerce was another one. I get emails every day. I just had a couple come down from Philadelphia yesterday and came in and enrolled their daughter, they said they heard that we were the best aesthetic school in the whole region here in West Virginia. And I think that's really a great opportunity for our state to be able to offer skincare beyond our imagination here. A lot of times we just think we can get a little tighten in here and a little tighten in there, and it all looks good, but we want permanent. But I really am thrilled, and let me tell you, ladies, the men are just as bad. So I do want to thank Evan Jenkins over here. Senator Jenkins, I just absolutely adore the work that he does, and he encouraged me to take the step of faith. I'm a father of 5. I have 2 natural children and 3 adopted children that I adopted from the state of West Virginia. And I just absolutely have trained them to be a positive. If we're looking up here seeking solutions, the solution begins with us. It doesn't begin with them, it begins with us. If we're looking for celebrating success, guess what? It begins with us. I'm going to be happy no matter which way it goes. And I'm going to be able to find the solution that makes me have that success, and without everybody working together.
I run a small family farm just outside of town, and one of the things that concerns me is the regulations for agriculture and food in general, because we are the foundation of creating food before it even goes to any factory processing center. Some of the regulations that concerns me is about raw milk. Raw milk is hotly debated in a lot of different circles. I understand there's some bills right now, and I would encourage passing those in support of the raw milk. That's going to help us folks at the entry level who are trying to farm and get this product to folks that want it, and it's also going to help those who actually want the product to get it and not have to go to another state in order to get that. Poultry slaughter exemption is another concern. Currently, there's a limit of 1,000 chickens per year for a farm to be able to slaughter on site. If they raise those animals and end up selling them in their community, they have a limit of 1,000. So I would encourage you to increase that number as well. I think there's some legislation right now to increase that to 25,000. Several other states have that limit, and I would like to see us get to that limit as well. Again, that's going to help those of us who are small. If you raise 1,000, 25,000 chickens, you're not making a lot of money on that. So anything that you can do extra is going to help you to add additional income to a small business already. So we're diversifying our business, and that's what I specialize in. A lot of the folks that I know as small farmers around diversify in different operations. One of the things that I am diversified in also is raising hogs. Now, I don't raise a whole lot of hogs. A lot of folks that I know do raise a small amount. One thing that would help us, while I could raise 100 hogs a year, I probably wouldn't make any money at raising any of those hogs. It's really a low-limit business. However, if I was allowed to slaughter those same hogs because an individual came to me and wanted me to slaughter it rather than haul it 50 or 100 miles up the road to a processing facility, now that we're giving that money to somebody else who specializes just in slaughter, and that's money that it's a job that I'm capable of doing, but because of the strict regulations on getting into the slaughter business, I'm not able to do that. Just to get an entry-level facility, I would need to invest about $150,000 in the facility. Well, I don't have that. I better specialize in that type of business, and then I'm not diversifying in the other things that I'm interested in doing as well. We need to focus on, if we're worried about food safety, then let's worry about the not the equipment and the facility, but the actual sanitation of the products that we're producing. Let's take bacterial samples, for instance, on the equipment that we are using, rather than specify that we have to use certain equipment that is prohibitively expensive for a small entry-level facility. On processing foods, things like your smoked meats, your hams, your bacons, your sausages, again, you need a large, expensive facility in order to produce these things that, by the way, I have the skill of doing. So I could take this hog, raise hogs, you buy the hog from me, and agree to let me slaughter it, and then let me process the foods. And by the way, most of that's illegal unless I have about 5 different business operations that I can't afford at this point. But I have the knowledge and capability of doing that if we scale these regulations down so that somebody trying to get in at the entry level can afford that. We wonder how we can create jobs. Well, there's food is an important thing, and we talk about a lot of food deserts, and particularly here. There's not thousands and thousands of acres like there is in the Midwest for growing a lot of crops and being a large farmer. But one thing we can do is, there's a lot of folks out that don't have a job right now that would probably love to learn how to raise different food. And there's a lot of small farmers around that have wisdom, knowledge that we can pass on to others. And if we can break that internship so that it's not overly regulated, I'll give you an example. As I understand it, I would have to pay a minimum wage to somebody to come out just to learn from me. And we just don't make enough money on a farm for that, particularly on a small farm. We need to have education funds available for those interns. So if you would be willing to pay for a guy to go to college, and maybe they're not interested in going to college, or they see other opportunities, then allow them to use some of those educational assistance funds to learn something. There's really not a college for learning small family farms. It's really scaled to industrial agriculture, and I don't think we have those facilities around here, so you're going to go out of state to use those. So let's find a way to make that happen, and I have a lot of ideas I won't go on tonight about in that. Living conditions. If all of a sudden now I become an education facility, then I got to provide those interns so many square feet for their living conditions, and that's not necessarily conducive for me to provide that. Some good news things, particularly in my realm. There's a wild ramp market that was recently founded about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now, and that has been an outstanding market for me as a small farmer to use as a resource. And we created that right here in Huntington. We're doing so well, and there's some folks here that have helped us with that, and I appreciate that. We're actually moving to a bigger facility, so we need to keep that up and promote those local little markets. There's also a veteran to agriculture program that I'm working with right now. I'm also a veteran, by the way, been in the Army for 25 years, and I'd just like to encourage you to expand that program. One of the current resources that they're doing is helping veterans get into beekeeping. So we talk about around the country, we don't have enough bees, we don't have enough honey, the pollination factors and so on. And there's actually a small program going on right now to help little folks, those of us that are veterans, to get into that program. And I thank you for everything that you guys have done to make those kind of programs happen. Encourage you to increase it, expand on it, and keep that up.
My name's Ricky Kirkendall. I'm actually a student here at Marshall University, senior in computer science. I'm also the proud owner of 2 businesses here in West Virginia. One of them is called Campaign R, LLC, and the other is called Floco Apps, LLC. Floco, we started that a couple of years ago. We make software. We started out making apps, and we diversified into just general software. We've been pretty active within the state. A couple days after the water crisis started, we actually were responsible for launching wvfindwater.com to help folks find clean water that have been affected by the crisis. But around the same time we started Floco, we started our other company, Campaign R LLC. And Campaign R is a little different than Floco because it's not quite a small business. It's actually a startup. I would describe it almost as a Silicon Valley type startup, where we wanted to make a software product that would build and scale to hopefully a pretty good size. And the product was called Raisin. Well, is called Raisin. And Raisin it's a fundraising product for nonprofits. So if anyone's familiar with Kickstarter, Raisin tries to be the Kickstarter for nonprofits. When we go a few steps beyond that, so we actually provide a back-end database for donor management, bulk emailing, and some other really important fundraising features. So when we were getting this idea together, one thing I wanted to get up and say is West Virginia Jobs Investment Trust was very instrumental in giving us the capital access that we needed to start building a product that would be scalable. And something that could go from just an idea and a vision that we started, here at West Virginia into national and hopefully international product to help nonprofits everywhere. The goal of Raisin is to provide small to medium-sized nonprofits with the same type of fundraising ability that larger nonprofits can afford with software that's usually very expensive, very, very versatile, very helpful, but very expensive and cost ineffective for smaller organizations. So I just wanted to really sum up by saying we've had a lot of success here in the state so far, and the Jobs Investment Trust has been, a very, very big asset to us. The capital access was just what we needed to actually do a little more market research for our idea and turn it into a viable product. So I just wanted to say thanks and keep up the good work.
My name's Jeff McKay. I'm actually an instructor here at Marshall, so thanks for actually stopping here on campus so I don't have to wander too far from office. But I also own the second craft beer bar in the state of West Virginia. And I don't want this to seem like more of a complaint, but rather a critique of the over-regulation of the beer industry in West Virginia. So let me pull out my laundry list here really quickly. I'm going to start by saying there are positive aspects to beer. There really is, other than actually drinking it. First of which, the national economic impact of craft beer in 2012 was $34 billion. I'm going to repeat that, $34 billion. West Virginia has the lowest at $71 per person. That's pretty darn low. The highest being Oregon at $450 per person, but states of similar size being Maine and Vermont. Vermont at 420, Maine at 324. So I make this preface by saying these three states have some of the loosest regulations. And I know that's kind of a bad thing to say in the state of West Virginia, but the reason I say that is that our regulations go above and beyond to the point that we actually treat beer as a sin. And I say that, well, I'll just go through this list, actually. Here in West Virginia, here are some of the more crippling regulations on beer. We have a 12% alcohol by volume cap on beer. We don't have a cap on liquor. So in my bar, if I wanted to have a liquor license, I could technically serve you a type of alcohol that's 75% alcohol, being 150 proof. But if I wanted to serve a beer that's 13%, that's illegal. I would instantly lose my license. So next, complicated licensing. Complicated licensing. We have multiple licenses for multiple types of retail accounts. We can consolidate all these things. For instance, a brew pub can sell a jug or a growler of beer to go, but me, I cannot legally do that. If you're a liquor store, you can't legally do that. So you have to have that very specific brew pub license to do that. There's also quite a bit of red tape, to be honest with you. Say that you do make it into the United States, or into West Virginia to do business. You make it into this market. You're a small brewery. If you want to send at least one beer to the state, you have to do all of this. You have to do all of this to make sure it passes the ABC. You have to send a copy of the Federal Approval Independent Lab Report of that ABV. You then have to send a verification letter for each individual package, each individual beer, that you can send that to the supplier, being the distributor, and that distributor can then sell it to the market. Not only that, but you have to have copies of the states that sell this product around West Virginia. So if a business in Ohio, a distributor in Ohio has the same product, we have to send that information to the state. But it goes on. You have to also send your estimated sales in a given quarter. But within that, you also have to detail the amount of cost for freight, the amount of cost as it pertains to fossil fuel for distributors to send this, and you also have to detail how much money you're spending on marketing for this particular one individual beer. I'm not talking about the entire process. Say that you're an importer. You're bringing in German and Belgian beer. You have 50 or 60 different products. You have to do that individual process for each individual beer. So you have to make details for each product. So that's pretty cumbersome. And as a personal example, I'm working with an importer that tried to bring in 30 or 40 different beers to West Virginia. What happened was they got locked up with the ABC. Initially it was approved, but it gets to the commissioner's office and it was put to a halt. There's too much going on here. And 6 months later, this importer actually had to hire multiple attorneys to go against the ABC of West Virginia to get their products here. And you want to know how many products they wanted to bring here? 5. 5 beers. Well, we're regulating it that strictly. So I'm not done. Sorry. I'm passionate about this because us as being in the beer industry, we a lot of times feel disenfranchised. That nobody's listening to us, that this is a sin in West Virginia, not to take it too far, but that this is something bad. But think about this for a moment. This used to be an industry in West Virginia. This used to be something we were proud of. There was Fessenmeyer Brewery in Huntington itself. And we have old industrialized space in West Virginia. And what can you do in industrialized space? You can build production breweries. So if you want to bring back manufacturing, bring back industry to West Virginia, why wouldn't we facilitate this by loosening the regulations? If you're a small brewery in West Virginia, you want to start up, maybe you want to brew a barrel a week, you have to pay thousands of dollars in licensing just to get started. Your annual license fee is $2,500. What small business can afford to do that? I can drive to Virginia and start a brewery for $65. $65. So that's a pretty big difference in regulation.
Innovative funding for small businesses. My comments are really an appreciation for and support for non-traditional funding of small businesses, such as the West Virginia Capital Access Program, which has been used to attract investors by providing matching funds for those private investors. I am Mark Kropelak. I'm CEO of Liberty Hydro, and with me is John Taylor, a PhD chemist who's our Chief Technology Officer. Liberty Hydro is a water treatment and technology company, and we're located in South Charleston at the Tech Park. We're a spin out of the Mid-Atlantic Technology Research and Innovation Center, Matrix, which stands on the shoulders of the former Union Carbide Company. We remove toxic metals and selenium from water, which is an application to coal mines and to power plants that burn coal. This is a big issue for power plants, and it's a big market for technology solution providers. Pollution control for selenium and mercury and arsenic and nitrates at power plants can cost over $20 million apiece, and there are 100 coal-fired plants that are facing this issue. Hence, it is a $2 billion market. To get our technology established at a power plant, we need to install a pilot unit, a small version of our contaminant removal system, to show it can treat the particular wastewater that's on that site. Depending on the system and the size, a pilot unit can cost upwards of $100,000, and the power plants may be willing to fund a part of that cost. Fortunately, we have 2 pilot units in operation, and we have more on the horizon. A few months ago, we obtained a $20,000 grant from the Chemical Alliance Zone under their commercialization fund to help build our first pilot unit. This was very timely and helpful to allow us to get our pilot unit on site at the power plant. This level of funding was recently reported in a press release being issued by the Executive Director, Kevin D. Gregorio. We have also obtained funding from certain angel investors, friends and family, an investment fund, and a private equity firm, and from the state venture capital arm, West Virginia Jobs Investment Trust. Some of the funds from JIT were available from the West Virginia Capital Access Program, which was recently established for small businesses, hence my sense of appreciation. The state funding from JIT helped the company to attract much of our other private funding, and that is the type of leverage you want to establish. Investors like to work as a club and get reassurance from other investors that are involved, and that the region is supportive in terms of networking and connections. I like the first speaker's reference to talent, community, and capital. My list, which I heard from investors, was similar. It was team, technology, market, and money. A startup company needs to build a team of dedicated people to implement your technology solution and to address a market need. In order to do that, you need money, and you really can't go and borrow from a bank. And the reason is a startup company has a good idea. We have intellectual property and we have trade secrets, but we generally don't have hard assets like a building from which we can get a mortgage. Also, we are developing a brand new product that is new, so we often don't have existing or substantial revenues yet. Hence, without access to traditional bank financing, there needs to be a solution, and that would be a network for non-traditional sources for seed capital and growth capital. In the ideal situation, you want the company to be located in a region where there is public funding that can be used to kickstart additional private investment. This area of West Virginia has a great industrial heritage. That heritage can be combined with a financial solution to incubate future technology companies and help young companies build their teams, win the market, and expand their workforce.
I am a small businessman, one category, but I'm also the director of the Huntington Sanitary Board, which is a small business. We have 64 employees. One of the things I'd really like the legislature to do as much as they can do to help us in every part of West Virginia. The antiquated system, the infrastructure in West Virginia is a place where you could create jobs tomorrow morning. That there has to be a tremendous amount of investment in that infrastructure. Water is an issue. In Huntington, we've chosen to treat water as one pie, not as 5 or 6 different pieces. I would encourage you to help us any way you can, not just Huntington, but the state of West Virginia, to get the funding to replace this infrastructure, to keep citizens safe, and also to create jobs.
My name's Levi Hogan. I'm the owner of Roller-Rama Roller Skating. I know a whole lot of faces in here tonight. Pretty much everybody comes to my place. And here's the thing of it is, when I try to reach out to Small Business Bureau and all those other kind of places, say, hey, look, you know what? Taxes are killing me. I spend mass majority of everything I make into my taxes. And everybody says, why is there no places for kids to go in Huntington anymore? Why is all the kids just running around on the streets? Well, when they're not in my place, that's what they're doing. Because there is nothing in Huntington anymore to help the kids out, keep them off the streets, do something good with them, keep them safe, sound, and clean. That's my 3 main goals at my rink. And a whole lot of you guys probably could stand up and say, yep, my kids get exactly that when I go to your place. Right now, I have major problems with paying all my taxes because my taxes burn up so much of my money, I can't even afford to put a sign on the outside of my building. I had to actually go down Lowe's, buy me a can of paint Roller-Rama on the side of the building because I'm trying to do everything I can to help these kids out. And when I rushed out to the Small Business Bureau, say, hey, is there anything out here for small businesses? Granted, Roller-Rama has been in Huntington since 1962. It's a very established business, been here for a very long time. But that only means that the previous owners before me had it for a long time, got to pay everything, had the building paid off, and was just making money and paying whatever. I'm in a position where I'm having to make my payments, pay for the business, pay for the building, pay for my taxes, and there's no help for me, which means there's no help for the kids. So if I go out of business, where are you guys taking your kids now? So when I reach out and say, hey, look, I need some help, and that's why I'm here tonight. I'm glad to hear about DNA. I'm glad to hear about job problems, glass, and everything else. All these guys and everybody here can say one thing. When we started our business, there was something to help us. When I went into my business and bought it, because I'm a skater myself, I love it and I love kids, there is no help. So I'd like to see you guys up here throw something our way for all the kids. Give us businesses who are trying to help the kids, because there are 3 roller rinks locally within the region, not necessarily Huntington, but I'm the only one in Huntington. Where do I go to get help? How do I get my tax break? How do I get incentive to continue on? Because there is not. So I'm here listening tonight basically going, hope somebody says something that I'll be able to use and go get me a tax break, go get me a help for a little bit, something. Because everybody in Huntington, tell me where you take your kids. That's all I got. I just need some help. So if you guys got something up there, send it my way, please.
My name's Chris Miller. I am part owner and operator of Dutch Miller Automotive here in Huntington. Looking around the room, I think we all have a similar goal in mind, and that's to make West Virginia a better place and a better place to do business. And I think sometimes we miss the overall goal, which is West Virginia is its own entity that has to compete across the United States of America with its own policies. And we right now are the victim of bad policies and the unintended consequences of them. If you want to fix West Virginia and make it a better place to do business and provide the one thing that really makes everybody in this room worthwhile, is you need to provide more people. You need to be able to grow the population, because if not, we're all sitting here fighting over the same piece of pie. And what do you do to grow the population? You make West Virginia an attractive place for other businesses to come here, other people to come here. 1.8 million people was the population of West Virginia in 2013. It's down 50,000 people from 2012. People are leaving the state year after year after year after year because of lack of opportunity, lack of jobs, which is the most important thing, and lack of capital and lack of human resources. This is a fact. West Virginia ranks 50th in the Economic Freedom Index. 50th. We're also 47th in state business tax climate. 47th. I mean, that's awful. Why in the world would a business locate here, bring its employees, bring extra income, bring extra revenue to West Virginia when we have bad tax policies? Why would they do that? It doesn't make sense. There's several things we really need to look at to start improving that, to make West Virginia a better place to do business for everybody in this room, plus for all the other businesses out there that are looking for a better place for their companies to grow. Number one, we need to eliminate the personal property tax on inventory, machinery, and equipment. This is a job killer. It's an absolute job killer. These hinder job creation and investment in capital. The inventory tax discriminates against businesses that carry large inventory. Why would you do that? Why would you tax a business for the amount of inventory that it carries? It's completely counterintuitive. And then all the other businesses across the country that we're trying to attract and bring here, they're not going to come here. It makes no sense whatsoever. One of the good things that we've done recently is that we started a phase out of the franchise tax in West Virginia. That's very, very positive. I think 2015 is when it's phased out to zero. That's very, very positive. That'll help attract more people here. We need to fix our total tax structure, really, from the corporate tax structure to the personal income tax structure and the sales tax structure. West Virginia right now has the 16th highest overall sales tax structure in the country. 16th highest. And we also have the 47th lowest median income in the country. That doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't make sense at all. A couple of the things we need to look at. We need to look at tort reform. Why would a business like Boeing, for example, tort reform. Why Boeing recently was in a contract dispute and was considering leaving the state that it's in. Boeing, huge corporation. Was West Virginia even on that list of places it wanted to consider locating to? Mm-mm. Because of corporate tax structure, availability of resources, tort reform, the judicial system, which is another problem. They wouldn't come here because of it. We really need to consider a complete and utter tort reform. Another thing, I think we need an effective appellate court that handles consumer-to-consumer disputes and business-to-consumer disputes. That would dramatically change things from a legal environment. Lastly, I wrote all this stuff down. I want to point out some interesting things that affects everybody in this room. We tend to do things that don't make sense. Instead of addressing the problem and lowering all the tax rates across the board for everyone, we do things like, for example, Toyota. We brought Toyota here by individually lowering only their personal tax rates. At the expense of everybody else in this room, we all didn't get a tax rate because of Toyota. Toyota did, we didn't get that. It's a complete and utter discriminatory tax process we have here. It doesn't make sense whatsoever.
My name is Charlie Denny, and I'm the marketing director for Alpha Technologies, also in the Tech Park in South Charleston. We're an IT service company, and our claim to fame is that about 18 months ago, we bought Union Carbide's global data center, and we're in the process of commercializing that. And I would like for the legislature to know what an important thing that they're doing with the West Virginia Small Business Development Centers. These guys are doing a terrific job. We're trying to monetize that business. And we ran across these folks, and they've had some really important counseling sessions with us who've really helped us identify markets that we didn't know existed. The company is a disabled veteran-owned business. And Terry Cyphers at the Small Business Development Center not only made an appointment with us for the SBA, but he went up to the Clarksburg SBA with us. And they've been just a terrific asset and a real resource for any small business in West Virginia.
I'm Ann Barth with Tech Connect West Virginia. We're a tech-based economic development organization with folks from all around the state in private industry, higher ed, and also the public sector, really working to support and grow jobs in the innovation economy.
Hi, I'm Michelle O'Connor with the West Virginia Jobs Investment Trust. We are the state venture fund for the area and for throughout West Virginia. We're also the administrator of the West Virginia Capital Access Program.
Good evening, I'm Christine Oliver. I'm the state director for the Small Business Development Center, and I'd like for my folks, local folks, to stand up. Amber, and Steve Johnson. We provide technical assistance to small businesses. We help you grow your company. So thank you, and thank you guys.
Good evening. I'm John Golden with Tech Connect West Virginia, and like many of you folks, I'm a small business owner. And for Tech Connect West Virginia, I direct a program called the Innovation Adoption Program for small and mid-sized manufacturers that can help with new product design, prototyping, industrial analysis, any other kind of innovation type needs.
Good evening. I'm Steve Cutright, the director of the Brick Street Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at West Virginia University. The two programs that we run statewide is the college and high school business plan competitions through the statewide collegiate plan. We have started 33 companies in the last 8 years. We have the finals coming up in April, where we will have 3 more startups. The second component that we operate is the Experiential Learning Center, where we operate faculty-led, student-based consulting teams who work with private industry to do feasibility studies, business plans, commercialization plans, and strategic operating plans to actually place business in operation and work on performance efficiency matrix.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jake Glantz, and this is my counterpart, Chad Miller, from the Secretary of State's office, Natalie Tennant's office. Everybody who's an LLC or corporation at some point has had to deal with us. And we try to make it as easy as possible to deal with our office. We offer online annual report filing. We also offer an online chat feature where you can sit at your desk during the day and log on and be connected directly to a B&L specialist in our office. We've also lowered late fees when you kind of get caught up in running your business and just forget to file your annual report. We've actually cut those late filing fees in half. So we just like to say that we appreciate all the stories tonight, and we really want to help small businesses grow as much as we can, get out of your way as much as possible. So if you have questions afterwards, we'll hang around. If you have good things to say to us, if you have bad things to say to us, it's okay. We just want to learn from you guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ravi Pandey. I'm with the West Virginia Jobs Investment Trust, and I know Michelle has mentioned about who we are and about our capital access program, so I want to take the time to thank Speaker Miley and delegate staff and the entire committee for organizing this event, and it's been fantastic and a lot of great ideas, so thank you.
I'm Gail Patton. I'm the Executive Director of Unlimited Future, which is a small business incubator and resource center here in Huntington. There are currently over 400 successfully operating businesses in the tri-state area who are clients of Unlimited Future. We've been around since '97, and we'll do anything we can to help you get your business started, help you find capital. We have an Entrepreneurs Cafe program where businesses can come, and it's kind of a crowdfunding sort of thing. We're partnering with the Chamber of Commerce to hold those. And we are also helping the Wild Ramp get going and be successful. So quite busy.
With the Robert C. Byrd Institute, headquartered here in Huntington, with statewide centers in Charleston and Bridgeport. I feel like I'm kind of a groupie to this group here, but welcome to Huntington. Let me ask all the folks here from RCBI to stand up and be recognized. Thank you all. Thank you all. Let me also, while I have this microphone, ask John Marr here to stand up. He didn't come up to be recognized, but he is also a service provider here in one of his roles as our director of our EDA University Center, which provides services to our small entrepreneurs here in Cabell County.
Good evening. My name is Chris Childs. I'm with Senator Joe Manchin's office. As a Cabell County native and proud Marshall grad, I just want to thank all the state legislatures and business owners for gathering here today. If there's anything that our office can do, obviously we'll continue to do so. And we thank everyone for helping to move West Virginia forward. Thank you.
I am Terry Booth from Congressman Rahall's office. And just like Chris said, anytime that the congressman can be of assistance to any of you with your small business decisions, please let us know. We have an office here in Huntington, usually there 9 to 5 every day. But the congressman was really appreciative that you all came to Huntington, and thank you so much.
I'm going to ask committee chair, the committee chair and the House Speaker to kind of reflect a little bit on what they heard and say goodnight. Why don't we start with you, Doug?
Well, I'd just like to say on behalf of the committee and those of you who came out tonight, I know it's a very busy schedule. I see Chairman Perdue made it down here. Thank you for being here, Don Perdue. Also, we have, across the board, we have restaurant owners, we have farmers, so we have people that represent all industry here, so please feel free to come up and talk to us afterwards about your concern. We will take these from the last meeting, just so you know, 3 or 4 suggestions that we had have already been acted on, and people have went and met with the different departments and state government, so we take your ideas and suggestions to heart. Thank you all for being here, and thanks Speaker Miley for having this vision, for putting us all together and giving us this venue. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming out this evening. As I mentioned earlier, all we're looking for is suggested solutions to problems you face. We want to recognize success stories because we know there are many in our communities. And it's so exciting to hear these stories and hear the stories of those of you who stood up and asked some questions and made some comments. So thank you again. Don't let tonight be the only time you make your voices heard. We are always available by email, telephone call, to any of us on the committee. So make sure you always reach out to your delegate or state senator to share your problems and concerns with them. So thanks again for coming out this evening.